God, we confess that we are busy trying to prove ourselves. So busy that we can hardly hear your word. We are addicted to deserving, to keeping score, to making sure that we get what's ours, and we are so restless, we're anxious, we're tired. But you're not a God who waits for us to shape up. You're the Father who runs down the road, the one who throws the party before we deserve it. So give us the courage to stop working so hard to save ourselves, and the humility to open our hands to receiving your grace. Do this in us, not because we deserve it, but because Christ has already died and risen for us. And all of God's people said, Amen. I don't know if you feel this way, but I know I feel this way, that we are living life on a giant treadmill. And someone, not us, keeps pushing the up arrow. So it's getting faster and faster. And when they're not pushing the up arrow, they're pushing the incline arrow, making it steeper and steeper. It never seems to slow down. It never seems to level out. It begins with GPAs and SAT scores, then the college acceptance letters, and then, oh, by the way, you graduate and now you have to get a job, which then moves us into performance reviews, background checks, security clearances, credit scores, mortgages. It never stops moving underneath of our feet. Someone just keeps hitting the arrow up and up and up. Author David Zoll calls this the pressure of deserving. He says we take this treadmill for granted, but it's been running us wild ever since we got our first report card. You can feel it now, can't you? It's the inbox that you had to check as you were walking into the door to worship. It's the college acceptance letters, the portal that kids are opening right now. It's the silent competition that you have with your neighbor, because we all have that neighbor. Their yard is neater and cleaner. Their car is always washed. Their vacations always appear to be more relaxing and more deserved. You think their kids are more or will be more successful than yours. The message to all of us is constant. You are what you produce, you are what you can prove, and you are what you deserve. And if we're being honest, most of us think God operates in the same way. We believe that heaven's HR department is running an SCI level background check on all of us, constantly. We think that grace is for those people who have their act together, those people that have the receipts to prove it. A few weeks ago in worship, someone in the congregation, I won't tell you who it was, but they were sitting over there by where Catherine is. It wasn't Catherine, because you're all looking at her now, but just know that person was sitting over there. And during the time of prayer, this person said their prayer for all of you was relief. Relief from this treadmill of life. And that's why we're going to be in a sermon series titled The Big Relief. It's based on a book written by my friend David Zoll. And before you go, well, David Zoll doesn't understand what it's like to live in Virginia. He doesn't know what it's like to live so close to D.C. He lives in Charlottesville. He's a minister to students at UVA. So he gets the expectation of performance, of always producing. If you want to grab the book, that's great, and read along the way. I want you to know, though, there's going to be no extra credit given should you read the book and write the book report at the end. We're even hosting a Wednesday lunchtime book club for those who need an extra dose of relief during the week. Again, no extra credit, though. Because here's the truth. The church should be the one place in the world where you do not ever have to prove yourself. Where relief is more than a weekend spa treatment. Where the grace of God lands on your weary soul like water in the desert. That's what this sermon series is about. Discovering God's grace as the ultimate relief. And today we begin with a story that Jesus told about two brothers, a party and a father whose gifts make absolutely no sense in a world built on deserving. There was a man, he had 2 sons. And you all know this story well. It's the story of the prodigal son. A few of you know it. That's okay. You'll know it by the end of this. The youngest son cashes out his inheritance early. Says to his father, "My life would be better if you were dead. Give me what's mine, and I'm leaving town." And with his payday, he wastes it away on dissolute living. Then he crawls back home when the money has run out. And then there's the oldest son. Any older siblings in the room? We can all relate to the younger sibling coming back. We'll get to that. The other son, the oldest son, does exactly what he's supposed to do because the oldest child always does what we are supposed to do. The oldest is hardworking and responsible, much like me. Christian mystic Howard Thurman, he was also the pastor to folks like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King during the Civil Rights Movement back in the 60s. On this parable, he put it like this: anybody may be like the prodigal son, and anybody can be like the older brother. We all stand in a relationship with God, and you may find out, you may be out of this primary fellowship with God without even going away from home. That's the sting of this parable. This is a parable not just about a reckless brother, but about a jealous older brother, because both are lost. But the story is not the shock of the 2 sons, but rather the response of the father. The younger, the prodigal, he drags himself home, and all the way home, he's rehearsing that apology. We've all gone through this, where we've done something wrong, and whether we're walking home on a long journey, flying home, driving a car, we've practiced this apology. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, Father, hire me as your servant. But before he can even get the words out, his father has run to him, meaning his father's been looking for him. Throws his arms around his son and calls for a party. No probation. No, I told you so. Just grace. David Zoll writes, grace is the one-way love of God. Grace is a gift with no strings attached. Unmerited favor, sacrificial love that seeks out a person at their most unlovable. That's what happens in this parable. Grace moves first. Of course, not everyone behaves that way. And now we can cue the older brother. He sees his father killing the fatted calf for his screw-up younger brother, and the older brother is livid. Zoll puts it like this: the elder brother is offended. He interprets it as an affront to the hierarchy of deserving on which he had staked his identity. And who can blame the older brother? We know the rules. Most of us play by them. Shortcuts are not allowed. You pay your dues. Someone should suffer for bad decisions. That's how the world works. But, and it's a big but, so you know that it doesn't lie. That's not how God works. Grace is not fair. It's not karma. Grace is not what goes around, comes around. It is, in the words of David Zoll, a break in the cycle of grievance and revenge that dominates human history. Our instinct is to mirror the behavior before us. If someone cuts us off in traffic, we cut them back off. If someone insults us, we return their jab with a knockout uppercut. If someone wastes away the family fortune, the last thing we would ever consider doing is hosting a party in their honor. But you see, grace breaks that pattern. Grace breaks up the endless cycle of deserve and deserve not. And it sounds wonderful, unless you're the older brother. Because the older brother's all of us. Yes, you've done everything right. You've done everything that you were told to do. And grace feels like you are being cheated. The older brother is just as lost as the younger. He's home. but he's still out of fellowship. The yard is neat, his resume are strong, and he has the receipts to prove it. And he's furious. The relief in this story is that the father also goes to see the older brother. The father moves towards both sons. Grace for the wild son and grace for the resentful son. That is the God that Christ proclaims. Not the God running the cosmic HR department. Not the God tallying up your performance with you. No, the God who runs toward you with relief in hand. Think about your life. It's a gift. The first breath you took this morning as your feet hit the cold floor when you woke up. Your relationships. This community. None of it was earned. And Jesus himself is the greatest gift of all. Not a reward for the obedient, but a light shining on those who dwell in darkness. A sweet and glorious surprise to a world that lay in sin and error hidden. That's why this parable is not about two sons who got what they deserved. It's about a father who refuses to play by the rules of deserving. It's why in Romans, Paul can say, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Not after you cleaned it up. Not after you got your life together. Not after you started praying more regularly or giving more money to the church. No, while each of us were still a mess. The world of the Christian then, the work of the Christian, if we can even call it work, is to lay down our guard. It's to open our hands, and it's to receive grace. So let me ask, where are you in the story? Are you the younger brother who wished his father dead, who ran far away and wasted much? Are you the older son who's angry that grace seems so unfair? Because either way, the Father's running toward you. And that is the relief from deserving. That God doesn't wait for us God isn't waiting at the finish line to grade your performance or give you a review. God is throwing a party in your honor. And that party begins in just a few minutes with bread and with wine. Thurman put it beautifully. The first thing you discover is that all of the time, God has been moving toward you. And friends, that's the gospel. So the treadmill can stop. Thanks be to God. Amen.